G'day everyone, what am I here for? Boxing Day preview. Could be the longest meeting it's ever taken me to go through. A lot of 2-year-olds, the midway, just nightmare setups. 75 Waller runners first up. Trialling. First of all, Merry Christmas to everyone. Hope you have a great day. What will be tomorrow. Hopefully we can pay for a bit of the fiasco the following day. Not an easy meeting, but I certainly have spent enough time on it to at least know a little bit about it, and I'll pass that on now. But yeah, have a great day tomorrow, wherever you're doing, with family and friends. Alright, so first race of the day. Hang on, I'll talk about the track first. What is it? A weird position. It's something like a 4-metre rail. 1 second. A 6-metre rail, 900 of the winning post, 4 metres for the remainder. So the most of the track that, or the straight, especially 6 metres from the 9 to the winning post, is very significant compared to 4. The sort of leader fence position is 8 or 9 metres out. So if that track remains in the 4 to 5 to 6 range, which normally it'll still race in the 4 to 5 range, then they'll probably get 2 or 3 off in the straight, but it should be okay to lead there, as long as there's not been that crazy wind that we've been running into lately. But I'll sort of come through with an update on that on Sunday when I know more. Other than that, it should be a pretty fair track. The 6-metre position, when it's sort of a 5-6, you can normally win from just about anywhere. Right, first race of the day is for the 2-year-olds. Interesting race, wide open. It's got a big field at the moment, not too many scratchings. I thought the main players were Command Approved, who gave them a sight in the Magic Millions race. Very fast horse from the gates. Turn this right down 1 second. So what have we got here? We've got Command Approved Shanghai from the outside. So really fast horse. Not many horses get out of the gates much quicker than that. You'd expect that with 2 runs under the belt, 1100 back to 1000, Rachel King going on, that this horse will be ridden no other way but positive. I do expect it to give a big sight. It did crab around the turn there, but that's a horrible turn there at Wyong. First time around Wyong, that can certainly happen. Did get a little bit lost up the straight too at Canberra, so this horse is definitely green and learning, but goes back to its home track, and I think it'll give a sight from the 1000, even though it was getting tired there. It was kind of entitled to. Shallow, what do we got? Hard to say. The next one down has got the lugging bit and the winkers on. Another horse who's had a decent prep for this, but it went the other way, 1100 back to 1000. Just rushed through. It sort of caught wide here in the dynamics indication colours, pushed forward, then grabbed hold and dragged back. It was wide with no cover for most of the part, so around the bend it's forced wider. Doesn't really come into the race, but sticks on, and I like that. See it down the outside here. Keeps coming to the line. Went up to Brisbane to a listed race and ran into a slowish tempo, and again got a pretty funky ride from mine. Sort of eased out of the speed battle early, a little bit keen there. Instead of sort of settling behind the leader, ended up 1 out and pulling and throwing its head and in tight room. Not easy for a 2-year-old to do that. Slow tempo, as I said, sort of picks up and doesn't really see daylight till late, and I like what it does late. You'd expect this horse, if things go a little bit smoother for it, to be strong over 1000 at Randwick. Nice draw, 6 gate, a rider back on that knows the horse. You'd expect this horse to run pretty well. Its first start was a good run too. Didn't have every chance there. So hard to say, should be strong. A little bit quirky horse, but maybe that lugging bit and the winkers will straighten him up a bit. And I think the other horse, which is the horse to beat in my opinion, again a funny little setup that I don't love, but I do like the horse, and I'm assuming that they backed off it, and I trust this stable to get the 2-year-olds right more than wrong. So went to Newcastle over 900. sits up 3 wide outside him, which is not an easy thing to do over any distance, but yeah, did they go quick? They went a little bit quick. This is the horse Uncorked, who came out and ran okay in town the other day. Obviously not the greatest form line, but this horse did sit outside. It had a tougher run, put it away, and was stronger through the line, if anything, after sitting wide, or very similar anyway. Ran the fastest last 200 of the day there after doing that. Then where do we go? We were back to the trials, which is important. So we've had about 43 days since that. Winkers go on. This horse pinged straight outside the speed again here. Real professional. Ends up back in third. Comes around the heels. Finishes off powerfully, which you'd expect a race fit horse to trial very well, and that's what it did. So the key to this, I think, is the gate. It just sits behind the leaders, or wherever it wants to sit, and it doesn't matter how much pressure there is. I think this horse will be okay. 1100 metres back to its home track. I think they're the 3 main players. Obviously well found, $6, $4.60 and $7 respectively, but I just like where they look like they'll sit compared to others in the race. There is one down the bottom that obviously this stable just drives everyone mad. Hawk Stable Mills. This jumps in front, close enough to it. Out here in the pink with the white sleeve, drag back. You see it there getting its head up. Sorry for fast forwarding, but just got a lot to get through in this. And gets to the middle and works home okay under its own steam. Late there you see it sort of picking up, but yeah, I just can't have any horse off that trophy. That horse beats me too good. Didn't learn enough there to know enough about it, and for it to be shorter than Russian Conquest, who we've seen sit wide, run well, come out trial well, trial before that well, for that horse to be shorter than it, okay, I can't work that one out. Other horses in the race that are in the betting, Shalale, Wealthy Investor, it can get over the top of them if they go hard. So they're drawn wide, 16, 14. I think they really need a 3 and 4 line to track, 4 wide line to track up to be injected into the race late. But I don't see that as an absolute certainty of happening here. I think those fast horses could just drag off the back of each other and put a bit of a margin. Then it may be difficult for those horses out the back to run them down over this sort of trip. Hell of a Dancer trialled okay, Field Commander trialled okay. I thought they were the other ones that could sort of run on as well, but I do think those first 3 will be in really good challenge positions and are well set up fitness wise and have the right attributes to run a strong 1,000 here. So pretty obvious, but main 3. Race 2, the Highway. Holy heck, London Gal ran today, which is a nightmare. I was hoping it would run. I thought it would put a bit of pressure into the race, which would help the horses I like out. I thought this horse tags. It's got a barrier extension, which just means it's a big horse, and blinkers again, lugging bit again. I think it's go day. The stable doesn't bring him to town for nothing, no matter what. Nick Haywood doesn't go to Orange to trial horses for nothing. He's coming to ride it. The issue is this, that the horse is not a 1,000 metre or 1,100 metre horse, I don't think, ideally, but at Randwick, with big speed on, pulled to the outside with blinkers on, this horse can run a huge race. He trials really well here. All you wanted to see was really him find the line. Look, he's got a big, huge stride. He chases down the leader right on the line here under, a little bit of pressure, which is fine. That's what I want to see. That was 2 weeks ago. Comes here, and I think it will be powering home. I'm not sure that it's not a shorter course horse than what they think either. Like they stretched it out to 1,500 metres last prep, and it still ran well. But I think a big track with speed on, this horse can certainly do something. Air Marshal ran really well at Tamworth last start, got way back from an awkward draw and really ran home nicely against the slow tempo there. The stable's obviously going very well. It's 1 over 1200. I've got no issues with it. Over 1100 can settle closer from a better draw. Needs a dry track. Midsummer Rain, I talked about it first up, its run, and thought it peaked on the run there. It can improve significantly here. Who else have we got? Casino Lord is that horse that keeps getting back and running home. I've got to risk it at whatever it is, $3.50. Smuggler's Bay is very interesting down the bottom, 68 days since it was last seen. But I think Tag's a better horse than it. It has beaten it already, and I just think he's going to struggle from that wide draw. Smuggler's Bay compared to Tags, and Anathol is the other horse that Anathol and Miss Ostend, who's had that first up failure. If it bounces back, it can run a race. Anathol gets back out of its ground, probably can settle closer from a better draw this time and run well. But I thought the value in the race clearly was Tags. Air Marshal and Midsummer Rain up the top at $19. Take your pick there, are a bit of value too. I thought they were the three that looked over the odds in the highway. Race 3. This is where we go down the Waller pipeline and the rabbit hole and try and work out what the heck we do here. He's got 3 in this race. Criminal Code, I thought, trialled really well. And what other thing I thought about this was like it's 1 over a mile. It's 1 over 1250. They've stretched it out to 2400 last prep, and it's ran okay. But maybe it's not that horse. Maybe it's not that 2400 metre horse. It's recent trial. Where is it? It's back last. So it doesn't have a lot of speed, which is a nightmare. But I just thought it tracked up really well. It's back on the fence here. You see, just not really extended at all. And in a pretty strong trial, I thought he's shown that he's come back well enough off a shortish break, 92 days, to be fresh enough to run a race here. His run, which was pace assisted at Randwick over a mile, quite a few back, it was 3rd up, but even his run first up was really good last time against a slow tempo, and good enough to run a race here in a small field. That a horse, you got a mix of horses that are sort of coming up in grade and horses that are not maybe going as well. Kerwin's Lane certainly picks itself. A synthetic filler goes on again, which drives me insane. Thought its run was quite good it was the Villiers last start and got knocked over there, back off a slow tempo, tried to pick up late. It can improve, but the market's found it. I think it's $3. Has to be the one to beat. If its feet are okay. What else have we got in this race that was interesting? Wheelhouse is the sort of horse that, to me, I can't find it off its last run, and it's been scratched a few times since that. I think it was 3 times it's been scratched since, which is a bit weird. 36 days between runs, no trial. To me, that's nearly a pen job, but from that stable, they just improve. I can't have Dynamic Impact at all. Thought the mile was certainly a risk. Gets a soft run, but class and distance were huge queries for me. I couldn't work out why it was $5. 5 Kingdom comes back in distance from 2,000 metres last start. 1,800 metres last start. It was 2,002 starts back. So it was back in distance last start when it won at Flemington. Really good win there. Just sort of left in front off a fast tempo, kicked away, and was nearly run down, just held on. I think it needs a similar ride here. I think it needs to be really driven out of the gates. It's drawn the right gate to do that. It needs a dry track. If it can lead control and kick, it can take the sprint out of the others and be hard to beat. The problem with Criminal Code is it's going to be last, and there's a chance there'll be no tempo here. Solar Apex showed that it was suited to a mile last start, but a big class rise. So those guys are trying to step up in grade. Wheelhouse for me is not going as well as he can. You've got South Pacific Criminal Code and Our Candidate resuming off different breaks, so different length breaks. Long break for Our Candidate, and it had a long break before that as well, and a decent break on the top one, having its first start for Richard Litt from the Mar stable. I just thought Criminal Code was the value and could sprint well here. Kerwin's Lane certainly the horse to beat, but I'm so scared of Wheelhouse, and I don't even know why. On form, Kerwin's Lane to beat. Kerwin's Lane and Criminal Code, the two for me. Criminal Code the value, $11. Race 4. Oh, readjust. Terrible habit of sitting on my feet. Race 4, the midway over 2,000 metres. This is, 1,800 metres. 2,000 metres. Why does it say 1,800 here? That's a strange one. All right, because it's race 4 and it is 2,000 metres. Okay, we've got... Interesting, I'll start with the map here. Made by Khan, I think, is going to spear across from the outside draw. And from there, if he runs it along, which I expect him to, I think he's certainly the horse to run down. He's a very tough horse who he sat outside a really fast tempo at Newcastle and he shouldn't have won there. He's not entitled to win at all, and he was around the second fastest of the day to the 200 after sitting outside leader and held on strongly. Then he went to Canterbury last start. Obviously it is an advantage to lead there, but again worked really hard and ran them into the ground. He stays in the same grade here, goes up 1.5 kilos. He draws a wide gate, which I think is fine. Regan will punch him out from that wide draw. I think he'll roll along. If those 2 runs haven't damaged him, because they were tough runs, and even his first up run he sort of chased a fast tempo, if he's held that condition and toughness, he'll run a hell of a race here. Made by Khan. He is favourite at $5 or second favourite, but I think he should be favourite. Pecuniary interest, what do you do with it? Barrier blanket on, I see, but that's just a sort of a band-aid fix for a horse that just keeps missing the start. I think the extreme slow tempo helped him tack on, and I don't think he'll get that here, so he'll have to give him a big start. Rebel Rama will give him had the right run last start and does lack pace, so the wide draw will hurt it. 29 days is going well, probably needs a wet track ideally. Avion Fury has been okay for the new stable, and I think from the draw can improve at odds. What else have we got here? Sepultura, 29 days between runs, should be only fitter. Rolls forward, distance is looks like a positive and hard to knock it. I've talked. Spelt it there's Legend Has It, the next one, rate number 6. I thought it had hidden merits in its runs, both runs back, and is ready to improve at big odds. Spalted is the horse I'm keen to be against. Very honest type, but lacks a turn of foot, and from the draw, the big worry for me is front bar plates on, especially if the track's a little bit firmer. That's a big worry for me. My Crone is a horse that sort of doesn't win out of turn, but very honest, and the drier it is, the better for him. Drawn nicely and should run well. Apache Bell's racing well, but doesn't win out of turn. Al Sahara, I thought, it's controlled the tempo its last couple, got speed on to suit 3 back, and I'm not certain about it up in grade. It's probably one I thought was worth betting around. Stolen Glance, no. Power of Attorney's an interesting horse. Genuine Wildcard, I thought wide no cover last start, is due to sort of get near its top and can run a race at odds, but going back, Made by Khan, very hard to beat. There's some roughies there. Avion Fury, Legend Has It, that I think can improve at odds, my Crona, but I think Made by Khan's definitely the horse of most interest, who will be ridden positively from that wide draw, and you would imagine goes pretty close. Travesty's down the bottom in this race. It's dual accepted because it's an emergency in this race as well. And I thought it was terrible last start. I can't make any excuses for it, and not really sure it was going that great before that. Up to 2,000, I'm miffed at why it's in this race, but Made by Khan hard to beat, and some value in Avion Fury and Legend Has It, and Power of Attorney a knockout at 50 or 60 to 1. Race 5, not even halfway. What are we up to? 19 minutes. Let me get rid of that. It's annoying. Race 5. 1,800 metre race, and the more I looked at this, the more I went insane. The race is completely devoid of speed, and would love to see this horse of Matthew Dunn's ridden aggressively from the inside draw. It's called Always on Show. It was beaten by Niffler last start, who's the $3.50 favourite in this race. It's $13 here from gate 1 in a race with no speed. What I like, I even don't mind the form back in Brisbane, where it raced against Tamerlade, My worry is it's very one-paced, and I don't want it to be sort of outside leader or even chasing the leader. It'd have to put the leader away and really be ridden aggressively, approaching the turn sort of thing. I think it needs to be off and gone before some of the other horses who are more one-paced as well. You've got, but Nifla's the one who should be settling just behind the speed and hard to beat. She's well found in the market, but I do think she has the turn of foot that none of the others really have. Your horses like Outlandos, Dakuri, they all want speed on. Zagallo, even Greek Hero, they're all pretty one-paced. Cut Fever, they're all one-paced. Rousseau's got the tongue tie and the blinkers on. It's an interesting horse, but I thought it was entitled to win last up with the run it had and the setup it had there. She's all in, going okay up in grade. What else have we got? PK's Legacy's a one-paced too. So they're all pretty much one-paced horses except for Nifla, who I think can sustain a sprint a bit longer. I do think doesn't have the super turn of foot, not great acceleration, but I do think it's got a better turn of foot than these and can sustain it for longer than these horses. So it's definitely the horse to beat, Nifla, but if Always on Show is ridden aggressively with 52 on its back, I think it'll run a heck of a race at $13 in what's a very tough race. Next best, Zagallo, just because the run it's going to get the right run, and then you're out to sort of Outlandos and Dakuri, who look like they're drawn to give decent starts to the on-pacers who look to get it soft, potentially. The only other leader, there was one other leader, I think She's All In is the other leader, drawn 10, natural leader in the race, and I would expect it to be found out. So let's hope it's ridden positively. The bottom one in race 5. Race 6, wow, this race drove me insane. There's half a dozen horses I want to find. Final field and scratchings would be very interesting here because there does look really good spell. I see that Kibosh has already come out actually, which was a big difference to the race. It was going to inject some good tempo into the race no matter what, I think, but you've still got sort of Miss J Fox, Selby Rose, I don't know what they call it, a few different names. Miss Baltimore, who's been ridden aggressively in the trials, going to go forward. You've got Tajuri drawn wide. I'm not sure if it's going to go around here. They don't have a jockey on, and I see it's got 15 gates, so I'm assuming there's another plan for it. But there is good tempo, and then you've got quite a few who want to hold spots. I think Lady Banff's one of the ones that can run well. The horses that I've found here all pretty much want the fast tempo, and a couple sit just behind, and probably Steel Diamond gets a bit further back than them. Steel Diamond's a horse I liked last prep, but it did have a long 287 days off there, had quite a solid prep, but then had a little bit of a fresh in 99-day break, came back, it's trialled really well. Again, another one of these Waller horses back on the inside here, just does its thing. Or is it the one? Sorry, it's the one down the outside. It's the one down the outside, pardon me. So it was back further and came down the outside. Thought it finished off quite well, and it should be sprouting here. How far back it gets, probably a bit of a guessing game, but hopefully sort of midfield would be great. Anything further back, not ideal, but expect it to run really well. Lady Banff, I thought ran well first up, and I think Blinkers offers a great play. Settle just behind here and can improve significantly. And the other horse that I was desperate to find is this horse, Lady of Luxury, who went back in trip last up, which I didn't think suited, got out sprinted, and then its last 200. So this is it back here. You can see that they're sort of getting away from it, but I think this is really good sprinting form. And Lady of Luxury, who'd won 2 in a row prior to this, only gets going. That's Lady Banff there. So they're both coming out of this race, and Lady of Luxury only really got going, on the line and past the line. So back up to 1200, and what should be a solidly run 1200 should suit. We'll need luck from the inside draw. Forzanini's going great. Just don't know where the heck it gets to from that gate. It's had really nice runs first and second up. Went good first up in a bad ride, and then good second up in a restricted room. So it's a horse that's right on the up and racing really well. But I think Steel Diamond, Lady Banff and Lady of Luxury are all value runners here. I think it's about $11 Steel Diamond. Lady of Luxury looks like it's firmed. It was $10 plus, I think, and Lady Banff $16. You might even get a touch better competitive race, but I think there's some value there around the early favourite, who's Selby Rose. I'm not sure where it's going to get to in the run. I think it's not. It's a horse that sort of races much better when it leads and dominates, and I don't see that really happening here. And there's others that I think have got a little bit more upside in this race. Getting through race 7. What have we got? Race 7, 2,000 metre group 3. Look at this map, it's horrendous. You've got Fun Fact, who sort of couldn't get going there the other day, back on the inside, and obviously a much faster race than this. And then you've got Polygrey, looks like it's sort of in Sky Max the next that have got behind it, that are both not very fast horses at all. So you'd expect Fun Fact to bounce back to its leading ways. What I would love to see is some sort of positive rise from Stockman, but it is drawn outside Sky Max. I'd love to see it try and stick with Sky Max the first couple of 100 metres, but I just don't really see it happening, which is a nightmare. If it was ridden aggressively at all, I really think it's set up ideally for a strong 2,000 now and can maintain a run. Doesn't want a super firm track, which I can't see it possibly being. The sting out of it, the track certainly helps it, but also helps Polygrey, who gets the nice run no matter what, I would assume. Creadiris is drawn poorly again and likely to be last, and if they go slow, I can't see it running past Stockman. If they go fast, I can't see it running past Stockman. So difficult task for Creadiris unless Stockman has no luck. Lightning Jack's the sort of new blood that's a bit of a nightmare. Obviously very dominant first up for the stable. 2,000 metres is another barrier, and so is this grade. Sorry, lost that. Where's that gone? Is only a winner, is a 5-time winner over a mile, so hasn't stretched to 2001 just yet, but and quickly gets there down in the weights here. But I really think Stockman's well set up here. And the other horse that I thought, that it was drawn perfectly is this horse So You Win. If it lobs sort of one out, one back, it's the kind of horse that has a little sprint, and that could be the winning factor in a race like this. The horse that's closest to the tempo and can sprint off, it's obviously the one to run down. That could be Fun Fact. He can improve, I think. I think his value at what price is he? $15-16. And Stockman 380 I think is right on the mark. If you knew it was going to be ridden a little bit closer, I'd be diving into it. Not knowing where it's going to be in the run is a bit of an issue. So You Win, you know where it's going to be, and Fun Fact, you know where it's going to be. I think they're the three main players according to value for money in the race. Polygrey can certainly win, but much better horse on a wet track, and the rest have got things against them for mine. Race 8. Holy heck. Love the race, but another race that can drag you down the rabbit hole. It's a day of where there looks value in nearly every race, so it's a sucker day. It's going to be a feast or a famine. I can feel it. 1,200 metres, you've got Tamerlane, the favourite here, and for me, it's probably the horse I want to be against the most on the day. So it resumed over 1,200 metres. They went 100 mile an hour. The race was okay. I'm just going to show the replay. So the start's obviously important here. Out the back. What's interesting is he was obviously not urgent on the horse out of the gates, but it's drawn horribly again. So you can imagine the same tactics are going to prevail. It'll be out the back. Same distance, which I'm not sure is ideal. It is a winner over 12 and 1,300, but to resume at 12 in a fast run race, he's probably looking for a touch further, if anything. Like I'm expecting to be a little bit more one-paced, if anything. So you can see, does nothing quickly, the horse. Always has clear running and builds through its momentum. Does have to dive back towards the inside a little bit here, but never really halted, and then pulls around the heels late and never ever really looks like winning. Despite the fast tempo, obviously can improve fitness wise, but I can see it facing a similar task, if not harder, because I can't see as much speed in this race as that one. and $3.40 as opposed to it was $6.50 there. And I think this is a harder race and a harder task, and it's for me the risk of the day with Bowman aboard. The horses I like in the race, the Roughies first, Impasse. It was a huge win first up last time at Hawkesbury. I think at firm tracks, certainly the key to this horse's chances. It's in the road workers colours up the inside there in the high vis, and came up what looked like the worst part of the track and blew them away. I know it was a good 4, but the fence still didn't look great there at Hawkesbury that day. Put them away. Thought its trial at Warwick Farm recently, I think it was off a longer break there. I know 141, 161 last time. Same colours here, yellow colours, gets to the outside. I know it's fun fact that it's trialling against, but fun fact's hard fit here, and for this horse to get as close to it as it did, it ran the fastest last 200 of the day, fastest last 400 of the day, and that to me says that it's ready to go here. And $41 seems crazy odds for a horse that's drawn nicely, should settle midfield, and can pull out a barnstorming run early in its prep, which is what we saw last time in. $41 looks crazy for Impasse. The other roughie I like in the race is a horse called Savoury. Sort of just got checked out first up. I'm sure 1,300 back to 1,200 is probably not ideal, but I don't mind it here from a softish draw where it could settle a little bit closer. Don't know really what happened, so it sort of jumps in front, Savoury, and then he's sort of looking across, and by the time he looks left instead of right, there's 6 horses gone past him, so I don't know whether he couldn't hold a spot or whether he just lost the plot there. Jay Collett, and by the time he looked up, he's 4th last on the inside. He runs into a dead end on the bend here. He's back in the green with the white. Runs into a dead end there. Check, 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 check. Loses all momentum. Check back to the fence. Has to come back to the outside. It's just an ugly race. And then sort of held up in line. So complete forgive first up. Hasn't been back to the trials or anything, so I'm not sure if there was an issue. But 39 days, I don't mind that. A little bit fresh and back to 1,200. They could be using this for a tune-up run, so it's not a horse that I can have extreme confidence about, but I just can't really understand. I think it's $26, $31 maybe around it. And the horse I really think is over the odds, or this is Love Planet, another Waller first up-ish horse who will probably put egg on my face, but it was dominant up on speed. First up last time in, so it's got form down in Melbourne, came up here, sat outside, slowed tempos, was out sprinted a bit by horses, got up to a mile though quickly. So it's another one of these horses that I'm not sure whether it's a miler and whether they've worked out now that sort of 1,200 metres fresh might be its go. So its trial the other day is good, sits outside leader here, no pressure whatsoever. It's not a trial you learn a lot about, but you can't be travelling much slower there. It's under quadruple absolute, but everything is. It's a bit of a nightmare trial. But the horse is obviously going very nicely and hasn't been knocked around. Gate 1 is really important to its chances. Where it settles, I think no matter what, it's going to have its opportunity to stalk the speed. So even if Nick Tock and Toro come across, I really hope that Kennedy Choice doesn't cross it. If it can hold it out or pop off outside it, I'd be much happier than these two horses both crossing it. Third the fence, I think this horse has got a huge chance. Love Savoury to jump onto its back. That would be incredible. And I think they're the value runners. Super Effort I'm scared of first up. It should be in a similar position to a horse like Impasse and can run well fresh. I'm happy for a horse like Animate to beat me. It looks like it has been set to run well first up, but it also draws awkwardly. Shadow Crush can run better. It's had excuses its first 2 runs and certainly looks ready to go now, but I think it's short enough around the $10 mark. Rangers is honest. They're just a field full of honest horses. I just feel that Love Planet around the $10 mark is the extreme value. I think it's the hardest to beat in the race, and Impasse and Savoury at 30 and 40 to 1 are value. So again, I'm going to go mad taking overs all day, or what are perceived overs in my opinion, but I think they're well and truly justified in their value. All right, race 9. Another race that's looks okay on paper. From a betting perspective, there do look some positive and negative targets, but it looks very open. I think this horse Snippy Fox should be favourite. Its 2 runs back have been great. So first up, it resumed over 12.50, sat outside the leader, ran the fastest fastest to the 200 of the night. Then went 15 days, so it's had to work up 3 wide, sat outside the leader. Outside leader's nowhere near as easy to win as leading on the fence at Canterbury. It's not a horrible position, but it's nowhere near as easy, and he was strong enough to get past the leader, put it away, and hold the challengers off, who had runs back. And I think Miss Einstein sort of says 1 over a mile, 15.50. So to hold off that horse first up, really good. Then went to 1200 on a Saturday, so that was a Friday night, 5-year-old plus. Went to a fillies and mares race over 1200. Had to work a bit to get in that position. Third, did find a nice trailing position from there. Gets to the middle. What I like about this horse is it's not a push-button horse. It doesn't have an immediate explosive turn of foot, but you see it just builds and builds and builds, and it's going. Any horse you can see there, it's sort of just built through its line, found another gear, put them away, and that's off a slow tempo. So it's one outside the leader off a fast tempo, then it's one out, one back, or 1/3 off a slow tempo. Gets to 1400, which I think is. I love horses that build momentum over 1400. I think it's a really good distance for them. If they can control speed, they can build the tempo coming to the turn and kick off it. If they want to sit behind the speed, they pull out and just build and build and build. They usually get their chances, which is what I love. And this horse is drawn ideally to have options to either lead or sit just behind the speed. And again, that's a positive. So you got Holyfield drawn underneath it, Snippy Fox drawn outside it, then you've got Strange Charm, 2 Big Fiery, and possibly O'Mudgee coming across from out wide. Look the main speed horses, but there doesn't look to be crazy speed. There doesn't look much pressure from the middle of the pack trying to find positions or anything like that. So the on-pacers should find their positions, which means that a horse like Blesk, even though it's got the blinkers on, has a decision to make from out wide, whether it wants to sort of chance its arm. But I don't know if it can, to be fair. Even when it had blinkers before, it didn't show any real speed, and I'm not really sure why it's favourite, to be honest. Where the comparative runs that they're going to have, I'd have Snippy Fox favourite for sure. Holyfield and 2 Big Fiery get the nice runs, and I think Holyfield's again Holyfield last start went a bit slow, sort of there. It sort of battled away, but it was 1400 second up. Now it's 1400, gets a position to take a sit rather than have to face the breeze that it did last start, and possibly can improve. And it's $10 or $12, I think it is. But it's on its last chance. 2 Big Fiery, I thought was really good first up. Winkers go back on again, and it can go forward. Dry, the better for him. O'Mudgee will run honestly. Strange Charm will run honestly. Nitride, who's my favourite country horse over these sort of distances, he draws horrendously again. The poor bugger just can't have any luck, but he's one to throw in multiples. If you're playing them at big odds, I really think this race is all about Snippy Fox. Race 10. Lucky last. Holy heck. This race, these are the races. This is why it took so long. You got horses from all over the place here, and again, Waller drives you mad with a couple down the bottom that are really lightly raced and look to run well. Going from the top, I thought that why Ha Ha Falls was worth risking here. Synthetic Hoof Filler on, its run was okay, or both its run backs have been okay, but I think, from that awkward draw today with the Synthetic Hoof Filler staying at the same, it's going up 100 metres, going up in grade. I know Francesco Guardi came out and won. I'm still wary of that form, and it did run well there. Its last 200 was quite strong, but it did box seat and sort of only have to pull around 1 or 2. This time it's drawn a little bit more awkward. Sorry, just get the map up. It's drawn a little bit more awkwardly this time, and I'm not exactly sure where it's going to get to, and I think this is a much deeper race, like a much deeper race than it was in last start, and that's not counting in the synthetic hoof filler. No, nothing sweet about me should jam across from that wide draw with Caesar's Palace and set up a solid tempo. Pentecost, who sat wide, no cover at Newcastle, won't be far away. Rejoiced led at Kembla, I think, on a heavy track last start, and it can roll forward. I think, has it got a gear change? No, it doesn't. Had the gear change last start. Sorry, the blinker's on. It can go forward, so there does look a little bit of pressure, but nothing great. As again, this is sort of the middle draws for the leaders, means they've got time to cruise across, and there doesn't look super pressure from anywhere else to put too much speed into the race. I think all this horse is. I'll talk about it on the way through the runners. This horse is weird deficit. I thought it was a bit of a average horse its first preparation, to be honest. And then it's back second last here. They don't go fast. They come home pretty even. So they go out pretty even, come home pretty even. It's not doing a lot, the horse. And I've got time for this horse, Remus, who's in this race. And this horse came from behind it, put it away. Remus was only first up, I believe. But I just like the way it sort of charged through the line. A little bit of a worry. There's a pack there that it's gone past. And then its run last start was really weird. Dragged back. See it sort of checking off heels there, back last, going nowhere. It was a slowly run race. Really going nowhere. Darts back to the inside, and I didn't mind how it was going through the line. Sorry, I'll just go back an extra bit there. So I didn't mind its last 200 here. And I think it's a knockout hope. Just wanted to mention it. It's not as if it's a moral by any stage. Talked about Remus previously, and again, its run there first up was good, and then second up it ran a bit of a race in patches and then hit the line really nice late. It's ready to go today. Pentecost sat wide, no cover at Newcastle, over 1,400 metres on debut. Very difficult to do that. Fast tempo made it even more testing, so it's in the Super Horse colours, the pink colours, and it was off short course trials. It did have 3 trials though, which is a little bit weird for this stable, but it's wide, no cover here. You think it's got to be in trouble. They've run fast time the first half of the race, and this horse sort of manages, doesn't really cruise up to them, but gets past them quite comfortably. Doesn't look like weakening. Doesn't have a sharp turn of foot, but how can it, considering the run that it's had? And up to a mile certainly looks no trouble for this horse. He's strong as through the line. No real testing of that form yet, is there? Oh yeah, so the next 3 runners have run, and you've got a provincial pacing down the line, so maybe that form may be an issue, but this horse certainly is the one out of that race, and how it lines up here is interesting. Not diving into it, sort of just running through these horses. The next horse that's unbeaten is Rejoiced. Really good win at Gosford to come from off the speed there and run down the leader on the line, Ultra. Then he went to a wet track last start, sat up on speed, kicked away, and was strong late. So a softish track and then a heavy track last start. 1,200 to 1,400 now to a mile. That looks progressive. Can't really knock the horse. Don't know where its top is, but no one does. It's unbeaten, same as Pentecost. But these are interesting horses down, lightly raced horses down the bottom. This horse scares the pants off me. So narrowly beaten. So won at Hastings over 1,100 its debut earlier in the year. First up over 1,400, went straight from a maiden to an open 3-year-old. Narrowly beaten. I don't have the replays on this. And then went to a Group 1 mile and came from 16th to the turn, beaten 3.5. And then went out to come. So it's joined the Waller team. Tactics are the interesting thing. Obviously the horses I don't think is super fast, but you'll see it does have enough speed. Like this is it here. It sat back in big fields over in New Zealand and sits 5th in this trial, but did look like it could have settled right on the pace if it wanted to. They don't go super fast. They come home quite nicely, and this horse runs the fastest last 400 and second fastest last 200 of the day. White Nose coming to the outside here. Looks a super talent, possibly. Perfect horse for Waller to take over. King of Sparta, we know. And this horse, I think, could have beaten King of Sparta if it wanted to. Who else was in the trial? Blue Skin we haven't seen. But I really like the trial of this horse, so nothing's come out of the trial and run yet. Air of all sight. What do you want to call this? I don't know. We'll find out what Mitch Manners calls it. Air of Alsace. I wouldn't have got that in a million years. Its performance here was quite solid. I see that it's in at the Beaumont track as well, and drawn a softer gate there, I think. Is it drawn 5 there, drawn 16 here with no rider? I'd imagine it's going to Newcastle, so we won't worry about it. This is the other horse you've got to worry about, another Waller import that didn't really jump clean and got checked out. I think it's all about whether it can settle closer here. If it can, it's probably the horse to beat in this race. They do go fast, but it's not easy to circle from back and wide when the rail's out at Warwick Farm. And this horse is satellite early and comes to the middle of the track. Runs the second fastest last 800 of the day. So a good effort first up at a mile for 184 days. And doesn't really stop through the line. Like it's not stopping there, which I like. It didn't even peak on its run. You'd expect it to bounce off that, ideally. 18 days since that run, which looks ideal. Drawn ideally, perfect. Jason Collett, perfect rider to ride a horse like this. Just needs to bounce it out of the gates and get it to settle in the first third to half, I reckon, and it'll run a mighty race. Tough races to end the day. For wide quaddie players, I'd be throwing in Deficit in my widest quaddie. I'd be throwing in Remus in my wide quaddies, Pentecost, Rejoiced in my wide quaddies, and I really think these two horses down the bottom, And We Dance and Oitara. And We Dance has got a horror gate, and its tactics, I've got no idea what they'll do from the gate, but I think they're the two major players in the race. I just love the trial of And We Dance. It looks a super horse, and the one down the bottom, really good first effort in Australia in what was a slightly easier race, no doubt, but not crazy. And we don't know how good Pentecost, Rejoiced are. Remus ready to go. Deficit just a wild card if they overdo it up front. Tricky race to win the day. The key is the Waller stable, which will drive you mad. Interesting betting races. As I said, I sort of talked about them all in enough depth, I think, at 48 minutes for the preview. Once again, everyone have a great Christmas. I'll be back to drive you mad more, no doubt, and I'll come back for regular subscribers I'll come back on Boxing Day with an update, and I'll come back with Newcastle as well. Thanks, guys, and again, last time, have a great Christmas.